Trainwell podcast, inspiring you to move more, to get stronger, and have fun. D, say what up to the audience.
What up?
So today, we are talking about barbells or boot camps. What should you choose? What is most useful for long-term health, for strength, for body composition, etc., etc. But first, we have a big call to action. Listeners, number one, we love listening to all your questions, to all your feedback, but we want more. So do us a huge favor. Please, if you're a listener, email us at podcast@trainwell.net or scroll to the show notes and there's a link where you can text us, because we want to hear what you want more of, what you like, what you don't like, although you probably like everything. We just want to cater to you. So please, huge call to action. Give us some feedback. Give us some love. Onward with the show. D, give us a what's up on pros and cons of boot camps, F45s, Orange Theories. Go.
Yeah. Okay. So, we have discussed this before, but I think, it's worth discussing again because these sorts of classes, fitness classes, are so popular. And, I think we're going to take a stance here that barbell training should be your primary focus. But I don't think that means that these classes are all bad. If you're going to these classes, seriously, huge win. You're moving your body, you're exercising, and that is super important. Any movement is good movement. However, these classes, and they offer community. I think that is so important. And people love that. I seriously, almost every friend I've ever made, I've made at a gym, some sort of gym. So it's a great place to meet people, like-minded people. And that's awesome. These classes are fun. They're easy, right? It's the classes on the schedule. All you got to do is walk in the door. Someone's going to tell you what to do. Someone's going to hopefully be checking your form. Although if it's a big class, that might be more minimal. But all that to say, they're not all bad. There's some benefits there. However, there's a downside to these classes. One of the downsides is it's very stressful and taxing on the body. And especially as we're aging, especially women and our hormones are starting to fluctuate, we really need to be cognizant of the amount of cortisol and adrenaline that we're pumping through our bloodstream on a regular basis. And these classes can be so intense that they don't really allow for a lot of recovery. And so then you have to be even more intentional about your recovery, which isn't always easy to do. And we've talked about that.
Yeah, often these classes, I think, are labeled as high intensity intervals, right? Or hits. You'll see a lot of hit. It's a great marketing sell. And truly, most classes you go to, there is not enough true high intensity. And I'll get to that in a little bit, but it's mainly a moderate intensity session. And people correlate how many calories they burn and how much they sweat to the high intensity. But we'll define high intensity a little bit later, but these classes don't necessarily get you to that. They're more moderate, right? One big flaw to this is it increases a lot of cortisol, okay? Because you're truly not getting that polarization of too high and too intense, but you get a long recovery. Most intervals you go to in a class is typically 30 on, timer rest, and you go right into the next one, 30 on, 30 off. There's no true maximal effort in those bouts. And so what that realizes is it's very taxing, like you said, and that drives cortisol up. And cortisol, we know, is the fat storage hormone, right? We don't want, especially around the midsection. So those people looking to lose their waistline, this can be a bad thing.
Yeah. And something else about these classes, while they are just easy to attend, they're not personalized at all. I think if you get a really, really, really good coach, they will make an effort to chat with you if they don't already know you, get to know you, ask you some questions, and be able to kind of modify for you on the fly. But even still, the programming isn't specific for you. So at best, you're going to get some, minor tweaks or modifications for you. But especially as we're aging, and if we do really want to be making progress, we do have to get a bit more specific and personalized. And these classes are not going to offer that.
Final point here is progressive overload, right? Which we all know is basically increasing in some capacity over time. So yes, you may be sweating, but it doesn't mean you're necessarily getting stronger. And I used to tell his clients all the time, like, anyone can make people sweaty and sore, right? Anybody can do that. Do a million burpees, right? You'll get sweaty and you'll get sore. But I've led these classes, right? I try to do, like, in my younger years, right? I didn't know any better. Like, we have 50 people. With 50 people, you can't like change weights each and every set for somebody. You're getting like all like the 10 pounds, the 15s, the jump ropes. And as the people go through the circuit of like 10 exercises, right? You can't stop and be like, okay, what'd you do last week? Okay, we're gonna go up in 10 pounds, change the weights, do this. You could in some small group models, but in these big classes, yes, they're good, right? I don't want to hate on them, but they could be better. And this is the time for you to really personalize it yourself and really track your progression over time, so you are getting the correct overload. One thing I should say, Darian, is to the listeners, we're not necessarily saying barbells is the amazing way to go. Yes, barbells are amazing, but we're mainly saying that strength training, right? Proper strength training is what we want our clients to gear towards, right? That's why we're saying, quote unquote, barbells over boot camps.
Yeah, because when you walk into these classes, even while the workout is designed for you, the onus will be on you to really track your progress if you want to do progressive overload, because the trainer is not going to be able to do that. They are not going to be able to keep track of all those people in class and you week to week. It's just not going to be able to happen. So you're really going to have to take ownership over your own progress if you do want to continue in a class setting. So let's talk through kind of the benefits of doing a proper strength training program if someone is looking to venture outside of that class setting and really start to level up their training a bit.
Totally. One is compound movements. What do we mean by compound movements? We mean exercises that involve multiple joints, like your squats, your rows, your deadlifts. That compound movement, right, is really going to be your best bang for your buck. It's going to really help with your muscle mass. It's going to really help with your nervous system and recruiting fibers and motor units and whatnot. The key, though, and maybe we should talk about this later with our actionable steps, is to learn how to move well. It is a mastery. It is a skill. They always say strength is a skill. And so it really takes some time to learn this, but you should be on the path of learning how to squat, learning how to hinge, learning how to row, because that'll pay dividends in the long run for sure, especially because we know that after age 30, you start losing muscle mass fast, right? There's a statistic right here that women, especially, they lose 1% of muscle per year after 30 without intervention, such as strength training.
Yeah, another benefit here, and it kind of goes along with muscle mass, is bone density. Everyone, well, not everyone knows. I don't want to assume that, but as you get older, you lose that muscle mass. You also lose bone density, which can be really dangerous. So by building the muscle and the strength, you are actually improving your bone density because the bone has to adapt to the muscle to stabilize the muscle. So as the tissues get stronger, the bones also get stronger, which is a huge benefit and really something to take into consideration, especially if you are a female and you're aging, getting up into your 30s, 40s.
Next one is metabolic health. Like, and I just read this article in my continuing education that it's a myth, a big myth, and we'll talk about myths later too, is that metabolism, quote unquote, slows as you age. And what this article was saying was that not necessarily true. What does slow is the activity level and especially the strength factor. And that's exactly correlated to your metabolism. So it's not necessarily that just metabolism slowed, it's a variety of factors. The biggest one being you lost muscle. And so strength training, proper compound movements, taking to fail, well, relatively close to failure, reps in reserve, whatnot, that will help with this metabolic health. Very simply put, the more muscle on your frame, the higher your resting metabolic rate is, which is basically the calories you burn throughout the day.
Yeah, speaking of myths, that is a very common myth that you have to do cardio to burn fat. If you want to increase your metabolism, build muscle. That is like the number one key to increase metabolism. So, another benefit to doing like a true strength training program is hormonal balance. And we kind of already touched on this, especially for women. The hormonal shifts happen not just throughout the month, but as we age and we get towards perimenopause. There's so many hormonal shifts happening, and strength training is a really great way to balance that because you're regulating your insulin levels, your cortisol levels. You're really improving a lot of like your blood markers, and your body is just running much more effectively and efficiently. Which ties back into the metabolism as well. So, huge benefit there. Strength training is, if you're experiencing perimenopausal symptoms, get into strength training yesterday. Go, run. Not run too fast. I'm just kidding. Run to the gym.
Yeah, totally, D. Last point I'll say with, why this strength training should be so important, right, is that who doesn't love getting stronger? Who doesn't love coming to the gym and being like, wow, I increased this by 5 pounds? That is such a huge, huge mental win, especially in this society where we're bombarded by anxiety and depression, right? It is a huge win to boosting this mental cognitive performance by increasing confidence, energy, and really just being a badass.
Yeah, absolutely. And it improves your sleep. Did you say that? I don't think you did.
No, it definitely improves sleep, though. I sleep like a baby.
Yeah, it's really great because you're balancing your hormones, you're improving your mood, you're doing all these like regulating your energy better. So you're going to sleep better at night, which is awesome for recovery. Um, okay, so let's get into talking about like now someone wants to start like a more specific strength program. What are barbells going to do? What equipment should they be looking to use? Like, how should they be looking to structure their strength training program?
If you're a brand new beginner, right? Machines are not the enemy. You want to pick machines that are compound, right? You don't necessarily want to go over the preacher curl machine and just do a bicep curl or a tricep, right? Look for the leg presses, look for the seated rows, the lat pull downs, exercises that really make you think and make you work because they're a great foundation to learning and scaling up to the quote unquote barbell or the quote unquote free weights. Okay. I don't want to say machines are bad because they're great for injury, they're great for isolation. Yes. But if you're a brand new beginner, our goal is to make you functional, is to make you very capable of dominating these everyday moves because every day we squat, every day we hinge, right? So it's a great foundation to learn.
Yeah, if you want some personal wins like in your life, like lifting your luggage into the overhead bin, like carrying your kid and your groceries all at once, like those really like, man, I am capable, I can do this, that feeling, it's going to be the compound lifts that get you there because they translate so well into real life. I always feel so just happy with myself when my kids are like, I want a piggyback ride. And I just like squat down, they jump on, I stand right back up, can carry them along with like all their stuff or backpacks or groceries. It just feels good to be able to do that. And I instantly, my head go, yeah, this is why I fitness. This is why I do deadlifts. This is why I do squats. This is why, I'm doing my bent over rows. It's so I can do these real life things without having fear of injury.
I think another good point. Yeah, get out and use your fitness, D. Get out and use your
Yeah.
fitness.
Use your fitness.
Another great tip is get on trainwell, get a coach, right? If I have a plumbing problem, I can try to figure it out, but it's going to take me like a million dollars and a trillion runs to Home Depot when I could just call the dang plumber and be like, hey, plumber, what's going on? You're the professional. Teach me how to sweat some pipe, So get a coach, right? That is a great another hot tip for you.
Yeah. So once you learn your lifts, so like that would be like step one is like learn your lifts. Getting a coach is a great way to do that, obviously, because nobody likes to feel that like anxiety and discomfort going around the gym. And I think more than that, it's like nobody wants to get injured. I think that's a huge barrier for people. So if you can get a coach that can just, reassure you that you're doing things well, you're doing things properly, that's going to go a really long way. And the other part of this now is the progressive overload part. Now that's like, a very like hoity-toity type of phrase, progressive overload. I don't know if that's the right word for it, but all it means is you're increasing week after week. So whether that's in weight or whether that's in volume, but really all you have to do is increase your total load. So like every week, if you just go, okay, I'm lifting, let's just a random 45 pounds, this a standard barbell. You have your 45-pound barbell, nothing on each side, and you do 8 squats with the barbell. Next week, if you're ready, if you feel ready for it, if 8 started to feel easy, you're going to do 10. And then once that starts to feel easy, maybe you add 10 pounds on each side of the barbell. Now you're at 65 pounds. Now go back to 8. Then go up to 10 when you feel ready. The point is you're increasing every time. So you do have to make sure you're writing down your numbers so that you can actually increase that each time. Or you can even add a set. If you want to stick with the reps and the weights, add a 4th set or 5th set to what you're doing.
Totally. And don't chase soreness, right? Chase strength and focus on form, not fatigue. That's huge. Don't get bought into, again, the old school mentality of I need to go to failure on every single set, grind it out, right? I always have a rule with compound lifts, never miss a rep for most people. I'm not talking to power lifters, Olympic weightlifters, all that, or those trying to whoop some ass. This is like the general most people, right? Average is you shouldn't miss a rep for those compound lifts. You can get close, but why get super duper injury prone if I try to 1 rep max all of my lifts? Not a good idea.
So what you're saying for never miss a rep, you're saying never go to failure. Never go to the bottom of a back squat and not be able to stand up. You want to feel like your last back squat set reps should feel really, really hard. And you should think, if I did another one, if you think, I don't know if I could stand it up, don't do it, is what you're saying.
Yeah, totally. If you need a spotter, yes, you can utilize spotters, but I prefer spotters on not the super duper, like a deadlift. Like who spots a deadlift? No. But if you want to push your envelope, you can. That is the fun part, but earn that right. That's all I'm saying. I'm speaking to the general masses. Earn the right to lift heavy. Earn the skill to lift heavy.
Yeah. One more thing I want to highlight about like picking like getting out of the fitness class setting and getting into a legit strength training program is it can be very efficient. Whereas like most fitness classes are like 45 minutes to an hour, you can get a lot of work done in a short amount of time in the gym because you're lifting heavy. Joey and I were just talking about this idea that you have to work out for a certain amount of time. The time is arbitrary. It's about the work you do. If you're going in and you're just hitting your main lifts for that day, you're hitting your heavy back squat and your overhead press, and you do that with intention and you lift heavy and you challenge yourself, you're good. All the accessory stuff, that's exactly what it is, accessories to your main lifts, which are going to get you really far. So you can be pretty quick and efficient.
Totally. I wanted to touch on the polarizing training effect too. We're going to have another episode where we talk about what true high intensity interval training is and what true sprint interval training is. These classes are marketed as high intensity interval training, but they're really not. And I'll just generally outline here. A true high intensity interval training is 1 to 4 minutes of damn near max out effort, so that you need a lot of recovery, like up to even 5 minutes or even at least 60 seconds of a bout. So I'll use a simple track example, right? You would do a sprint around the track of 400, right? And then you would walk back to the start, right? That gives you a long rest. These fitness classes, they're just not intense enough to truly max out. I'll give you another example, sprint interval training, and that's truly going all out, less than 30 seconds, up to 30 seconds, and then resting like 2 to 3 minutes. That'll really, that people think that'll increase cortisol, but you're getting so much recovery time, and that the effort of intensity isn't quite long enough to truly tap into your nervous system so much in a way that'll actually cause more fatigue. So check out the True Ways, true high intensity interval training. Again, 1 to 4 minutes with long recoveries, 1 minute to, like, let's say you just do a 1 minute bout, you only need 1 minute recovery. But if you do a 4 minute bout, shoot, you may need up to 5 minutes of full recovery. And then the sprint intervals, which is less than 30 seconds, right? Maximal effort though, hill sprints, battle ropes, even a heavy sled push, right? For max distance if you could, and then rest 2 to 3 minutes. So check those out, polarize your training.
Yeah, that actually sounds really fun. Joey, did I tell you that when I was in Vermont, I did sprints? I ran sprints. It was up this like not I don't want, it was a hill, but it wasn't a steep hill, but it was like a dirt road, and I want to say it was like 150 meters probably. And I was like pushing hard. By the end of that 150 meters, I could feel my legs literally just like stopping working, like they were slowing down. And then I would just walk back to the start. That was really hard, but it do I want to say it felt good? I was proud of myself, I'll say that.
That's legit. And listeners, please don't take this and like go run sprints tomorrow, right? If you haven't sprinted in like 10 years, that's how you tear an Achilles. Build up to this, okay? Pick something you can do. Like if I say do a sprint interval session, do something like low impact, like battle ropes. Battle ropes are big, right? Don't feel like you have to be like legendary and over here and go run your hill sprints.
I did do a dynamic warm up though. I thought you might be proud of that. I was proud of
Nice.
myself
I
for that
hate
too.
dynamic
It's not,
warm-ups, but they're good.
not, you hate them, you said.
I hate them. I've done so many of them. It's like
I had
pulling
fun.
teeth getting me to do them.
I thought it was fun. I liked it. So let's bust some myths, because I know that there is some um hesitation to wanting to do like strength training. So what are some common myths we hear that, we're going to bust for the people?
Okay, I'll name the myth and you bust it. Okay, Darian, I am new to lifting and it scares me because I do not want to get bulky.
Yes, very common myth, and we've busted this one before. So here's the thing, especially as a female, you have to be so incredibly intentional about your training to actually get bulky. Like genetically, it's very, very hard to get bulky. So especially as we're aging, it's even harder. Like you're fighting against your muscles diminishing as we get older. So to think that like you're going to start a strength training program and immediately bulk up is not really the case. And like I always say, like, why are we so scared of that? What is so wrong with quote unquote looking bulky? I don't understand what that means. It's powerful, taking up space, having muscles. It's very powerful. And I think, maybe even just embracing like a muscular look could go a long way. Mindset shift. Let me give you a myth. Will you bust one, Joey?
Hit me.
Okay. Let's say I'm just getting started and I'm 38 years old. I'm just getting started and Joey's my trainer. Joey, I've never done anything before. I've just been doing like boot camp classes. I think it's too late for me. I'm too old to start lifting, to start barbell lifting at this age.
You're not too old to lift. You're too valuable not to, right? You're too
Mhm.
vulnerable. you just need the total myth, right? At 40, strength isn't optional. It's absolutely essential. Right? Or sorry, how old were you?
I'm 38, but
38.
we could speak to any age, really, right?
Yes, any age. Muscle is the best anti-aging thing out there, right? That it's the best medicine that no one's selling, right? And the biggest thing is you just have to get comfortable with moving well, right? That's the foundation, right? People just think automatically that they need to get under a bar and squat with 3 plates on each side, right? Or deadlift, right? 2 wheels off the floor. No, like we want to work up maybe to your capabilities, but you're never too old to start now. Please don't fall for that. Please don't fall for that. All right, another myth. Okay, Darian, I see that guy in the squat rack over there. He's squatting 5 wheels on each side. They're too intimidating for me.
Well, this myth, it has some validity. It can be intimidating to do new things. Just like any new thing you're going to do, it can feel intimidating. Anything you're learning for the first time, no one's going to be good at something the first time they do it. But you have to start where you're at. If the barbell squat is too intimidating right now, start with dumbbells. Just get used to the movement pattern. Work your way up with that, or start with a goblet squat with a kettlebell. Work your way up. Then when you go over to the barbells, when you're feeling confident in the movement pattern, start with an empty bar. No one's judging you. No one's looking at you. You do you. Start with an empty bar and just get the feel for it. And stay with that until you feel confident and comfortable. There's no pressure to have to move up in weights right away. Start increasing your reps first, and then go ahead and start increasing your weight. And before you know it, wheels, baby, wheels for days.
Everything new feels intimidating until you're the one loading those plates, baby.
That is so true. So true.
Okay, last myth, D. If I'm not sore or sweating, it ain't working.
That's a myth. And you can actually go back and listen to one of our podcast episodes that we did about this. Soreness and sweating is not an indication of a good workout. Soreness is your body adapting to a new movement pattern or new load. You can absolutely get a new workout or get a good workout without feeling that soreness. And sweat, you sweat when you're laying on the beach. It doesn't mean you're working out. So you don't need any of those things really. And in fact, I have clients tell me all the time who are newer to weightlifting, they're like, I'm not really sweating. I'm like, yeah, because if you're doing it right, if you're doing strength training right, you're lifting heavy and you're resting longer. So you may not be really sweating, and that's okay. You're not really supposed to be. It's not about how much you're sweating. It's about how much you're lifting.
Amen. And you know what, D? Soreness and sweating, they're not the progress report, right? You know what it is?
What is it?
Strength, baby.
That's exactly it. All right. So for all of you out there who were just taking classes and maybe considering getting into strength training, this is your sign from the universe to do it. And we're not saying that classes are bad. You can still 100% do your classes, because classes can be fun and you can meet cool people there. Just maybe consider moving back your class schedule to 1 to 2 days a week and getting in the gym with some barbells and some heavier weights a little bit more frequently. Track your weights so that you can progressively overload.
We love you guys. We want, again, listen to that little call to action in the beginning of the episode. Please reach out with your questions, share your own experiences. We want to hear from you. We want to know what you guys like. And as always, please, if you found this episode helpful, share it with your friends, with your family. It's a great way to change the world, one listener at a time.
Thank you, everyone. Please check the show notes to click a link for Trainwell 14 days free and get matched with your very own personal trainer. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.